Welcome to the Divine Connection podcast. I'm your host, Christina Aroche, and together we are walking the path of discovering your true self and the alignment with your soul. Through these conversations, you will experience a deeper level of connection with yourself and the universe, and most importantly, you will trust in your spiritual journey ahead. Let's begin. All right, everyone. Welcome to this episode of the Divine Connection podcast. I am so excited to introduce you to my guest speakers today. We've got two incredible women who are joining us today, and I am so excited for the conversation that we're going to have in this episode about the sacred feminine and all of the good stuff connected to the sacred feminine. So we've got Jen and Tiffany from Sister Compass, who mentor and lead women to feel empowered and reclaim their inner divine feminine magic through Reiki and Sacred Sisterhood, so they can deepen their connection to self and source and create an authentic and joyful, fulfilling life. And so what these beautiful women do is they lead retreats that combine Reiki training with ceremonial sister circles, which include ritual teachings and guided meditation journeys to connect you back to your soul and to the goddess in order to heal and bring about your transformation. Like, how magical does that sound, everyone? Like, this is so incredible. So welcome, Jen. Welcome, Tiffany. I'm so excited to have you all here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us. This is amazing.
Yes.
So happy to be here.
Yes, thank you, Christina. So happy to be here with you, the beautiful angelic healer that you are. So to be able to sit in your presence and have this conversation is so exciting.
Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, I don't even know where to begin, but let's start with kind of what inspired you to create the Sister Compass, because that's kind of like a joint thing that you two are doing together. And I'm curious to know what inspired that, or what led you to, creating this.
Tiff, do you want to start? Yours goes back further than mine.
Sure. So I've been in the spiritual world and personal development world for like 30 years, but honestly, it goes back even further than that. It goes back to being a child. I grew up Catholic, and when I would go to church, while I was very spiritual, I wasn't super connected to the church, although I loved certain aspects of it for sure. And one of them being ritual, and just the connection that I felt to source, to God. And, but there was something that was missing for me. And that was a deeper sense of community and a sense of feminine representation, not only in like the archetypal, like God, goddess sense. Yes, that, but also just in the quality of what we were doing. So I sort of, even as a child, I'll just tell this super quick story. I think I was already doing ritual before I even knew it. I used to have this little statue of Mother Mary, who was like my first goddess, still walks with me so much in my life. And I used to take her statue. We had a bird sanctuary behind our house. And I would bring it out into the wood, what I called the woods, and I would essentially build an altar and dance and pray and sing or just play. And I think as I got older and began to seek more and more of that community and that feminine representation, I found myself in feminine mysteries and moon circles and things like that. And I just felt such a connection to home. I felt like I finally came back home to my soul and what I've been doing my whole life and knew my whole life. And I just wanted to create that. I wanted to create that for other women. I wanted that sense of women to feel that sense of community, that sense of connection and fulfillment. And so for many years, I dreamed of creating sacred sister circles and bringing ritual and bringing more inner magic to other women. And Yeah, I think that's really it. And then when I met Jen, we had a similar vision. And I've been doing some of that in my life as a healer and a life coach already. But when we connected, we had this very special connection and passion for this. So, Jen, if you want to move forward from there.
Yeah, thank you. I love hearing that story every time. But so my story is completely like opposite. I grew up with no religion. And I considered myself, I guess, spiritual, but it was never really a part of my life until I really started doing interpersonal development work. And I've only been doing that for about 3 years. But through that work, I developed this connection to something bigger, to the universe, to source, and felt like that just really, really resonated to me, that there's so much more out there, and the way we show up in the world and the vibration that we dwell in every day really creates our own life. And that felt so powerful to me. And so Tiffany and I met in a personal relationship development program and became friends. And I remember seeing this necklace around her neck that's a compass rose. And I was like, what is this necklace? And so she told me this whole story about, Mother Mary and the bird sanctuary. And she said that she had all of these ideas and visions to create like a wellness center, to create like, she said Sister Compass back then, like she had the name already. And I just felt like we're going to do that together. It felt like something that we were meant to do together, and that it just like a knowing that we were going to work together. And so, she invited me to come learn Reiki, and like the rest kind of took off from there, because I trained under her for Reiki, but we also co-hosted Circle together in that retreat. And I had never done that before, but it really felt like a remembrance for me, and very natural. And so that's where like the inspiration came from.
I just love that so much. And it's so cool to see how, despite, having started off, we all have unique journeys, right? But despite the uniqueness and the differences in our journeys, how at some point when we are ready, we're ready, and the journeys come together. And then from there, it's kind of that decision that we make that says, okay, am I willing to show up for this? Am I willing to do this? And you both said yes to that calling, which is just so beautiful and so inspiring. And it's so needed in this world too, And one of the things that I think a lot of people that will really benefit a lot of people is to understand a little bit more about the sacred feminine energy. And I would love to hear if maybe each of you have kind of like a different perspective or different experience of what the sacred feminine is, or if it kind of is, the same, to help people to understand more about what exactly is the sacred feminine, or how would you describe it, or how do you connect to it? Like, how does it live within us, all around us? What does that look like for you?
I'll go. So yeah, I think that every woman is going to have a different like feeling about the sacred feminine, but it's all encompassing overall. And so for me, I feel like it's like really this specific frequency that really connects us back to what I feel like is this inner magic that we all hold within us. And this connection to the goddess, this like, this feminine, source energy. And also there's a huge connection for me with the earth and the cycles of the earth. I've learned that we're meant to live by the cycles. That's how our body works. That's how the earth works. Yeah. And that's how, the cosmos works. Like we think about the moon phases and how our own bodily cycles, go along with the moon phase. And so for me, understanding and then living by these cycles and recognizing where my body is in relation to the moon, in relation to the earth, is part of all of this. I also feel like there's this feminine component to, what's been a really male dominated kind of patriarchal spiritual system that has, that has kind of permeated through history. And, it's more, for me, it's more than just feminine energy. It's this really, I don't know, like this just deep connection to source in a feminine way. It's really hard to
Yeah.
put into words. There's so much there, but that's how I would describe it right now
I
for
love
me.
that so much. It's so beautiful. And just to say real quick, I feel like when we start talking about it and start even just having it in conversation, it's almost like a feeling, right? Like something begins to buzz inside of you or awaken inside of you. And I think it's something, at least from my experience and from my personal journey, it's something that, you know, we're seeking, but we don't even know that we're seeking until we start to hear about it or find it. And then you're like, oh my God, this is a thing that I've been looking for that I didn't even know. Right.
Yeah, it
So
absolutely is.
yeah.
It is. It's such a feeling, and so it's like, how do I put
Hmm.
English words to feeling?
Right.
So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I love
Yeah,
that.
I agree. Jen, that was so beautiful. I love listening to you talk about it because I really feel, just like Christina was saying, the energy and the frequency come through. And I agree. I believe that it also is this divine frequency that's inherent in us. And in fact, as you know, we all have both within us,
Hmm.
divine feminine and divine masculine energy. It's within everything. And, it's the yin and yang, and they really need to work in balance together. But I think, what Jen was talking about, and is so true that, at least in historically, recent historic history, the feminine has been not only erased, but maybe
Hmm.
conditioned to believe that our qualities or our gifts are less than or not as important. And
Yes.
living in a, especially in the Western world, right? We live in a very masculine structures we live within.
Hmm.
And so we've sort of lost that balance of the divine feminine energy. And
Hmm.
so like you said, Christina, like some of us don't even know what we're looking for. Like when I was a child, it was within me, but I didn't
Right.
know how to name what that was. And as a someone who identifies as a primary feminine energy, I think
Hmm.
it is part of our purpose and our gift to be able to bring those feminine qualities back into balance, not only to be able to experience that divine, authentic connection that we're seeking,
Hmm.
but also to bring about the balance with our masculine counterparts on the planet, within the systems, right? So I really feel like it's so
Right.
important. And like Jen said, like you can't, no amount of words can encompass what the divine feminine means, and it will be unique to each woman or each individual that identifies as divine feminine. And
Hmm.
but yet I think there are some qualities that stand out as, when we think back to these ancient times and we think about we were or are the healers, the mothers,
Hmm.
the midwives, the medicine women, right? We were the community
Yes.
keepers. We're inclusive, we're compassionate. Divine
Hmm.
feminine energy holds introspective, intuition,
Hmm.
wisdom. And these are such important qualities um, to bring into balance. Rest, um, you know,
Yes.
yeah, right. Heart centered. We're heart centered. We're relationship focused.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I just think, like I said, everyone will have their unique flavor. Oh, and we're sensual. I wanted to talk about that.
Yes,
Um,
please.
because, when we think, a lot of people will associate divine feminine with sensuality, and that is
Hmm.
true, right? It is associated with that, but I think people think more sexuality, and that certainly is a part of it for sure. But
Hmm.
what we're also talking about is our senses, right? Part of the
Mm.
gift of being feminine is experiencing the world, right? And
Hmm.
experiencing through pleasure. And so that's through seeing and hearing and touching and tasting and moving our bodies. And so we really do bring that gift of
Mm.
sensuality in all of the senses. So I think that's another big component that people will automatically kind of think of when they think of divine feminine.
Oh my gosh, I love that. And I love that you brought that up because I feel like that part isn't often talked about. And it's such an important aspect of, like you said, that feminine energy and how, in my experience, it's that sensitivity to that, right? Being very sensitive to energy and understanding and kind of going with the flow with it and responding in the way, in whatever appropriate way when you feel that energy coming in and you're responding back and all of that kind of stuff. So that's amazing. I just love that. It's so powerful and so beautiful. And it just feels like, just hearing both of you speak about this, it almost feels like this permission slip that we're given right now that for women, and anyone who identifies with this feminine energy of saying, you know what, that is who I truly am. And I don't have to suppress that, or I don't have to make myself feel wrong for being that way or for wanting to be that way. Or, you know what I mean? I feel like you, both of you mentioned, it's that we've been so conditioned that these certain aspects of the feminine energy are wrong or less than or weak or whatever, interfering in the way, whatever you want to call it, right? And instead, it's actually, I feel, and let me know if you guys agree, but I feel that part of our kind of evolution now is to bring that back, but also not just bring it back, but make it be okay and make it be, this is how we operate and we don't need to fit into this box, right?
Yeah,
For sure.
absolutely. I think the permission slip is a huge piece of this because
Mm-hmm.
women are either walking around so deep in the conditioning of society that they don't even recognize that this is a thing that
Mm-hmm.
their soul wants or needs, and that's part of like what we hope to bring to people. And then the ones that do feel some kind of pull or like there's something more, they don't have permission to be that.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yes.
part of what I've learned is a huge dropping of having to ask for permission from anybody to be who we are
Mm-hmm.
authentically meant to be. And one other thing I just wanted to point out from before that I think is important to note about the divine feminine and how Tiff was talking about it's bringing the masculine and feminine into balance. I think there can be some like it can be misconstrued that the divine feminine is like feminine is better or the masculine bad,
Mm.
and that can polarize the masculine and feminine.
Mm-hmm.
It's completely the opposite of what we're trying to do. We're trying to bring the masculine
Mm-hmm.
and feminine into balance for our evolution, like you were just mentioning, Christina. So I think that was
Mm-hmm.
important to point out too. Yeah.
Thank you
Yeah.
for saying that, Jen.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's an important part of this because and I felt that too even in my work discussing it whenever that's come up. It's kind of like a reminder. It's not that we're shutting down the divine masculine and saying no to that. It's more of we really got to bring this conversation of the feminine forward in order to bring it into balance because we're so on the other side of the pendulum, right? We got to
Yes.
bring it back into balance and we got to talk about it more. And I really feel that the more that we talk about it and have these conversations and discuss it and understand it and embody it, then it becomes more of it's the awakening of that feminine more and more and more, right? It's that ripple effect, like, okay, she's talking about this and she's talking about this, she's embodying this energy, what does that mean, and that's what I feel energetically. It kind of starts to spread in that way where more and more women and people who identify with this feminine energy begin to connect with it and see that it's okay and see that we don't have to suppress it or change ourselves, that we actually get to be who we truly are, which I think
Yeah.
is beautiful.
I love that so much, Christina. That's right. And hold it as necessary and truth, right? Hold it
Mm-hmm.
as part of your truth. Because when we can
Yes.
connect to that truth, right, that's when we feel most empowered in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
And so being able to be your authentic self and thrive within your feminine energy and believe that it is the gift that it brings to the balance, to the evolution, is so powerful. And that's part of Jen and I's purpose as well, in helping women to feel that empowerment within themselves.
Yes. Yes, I think that's huge and so necessary. And that actually leads me to the next question that I'm curious to hear both of your perspectives on this. Talking about living in a society, especially in the Western world, male, patriarchy dominated kind of thing. And, where we basically learn and are conditioned from a young age that we got to do it this way, that way. And like Jen mentioned, sometimes we don't even realize that we're so disconnected from the feminine. And I think my personal experience with this has been that feeling of, okay, I gotta make things happen. I gotta work. I gotta do this, go, 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 go. And if I'm not doing something, that means that I'm falling behind, or it means that I'm, not keeping up, or I'm gonna miss out, or whatever, all of those different things. So I think when I think back to my own journey, I feel like that was one of the biggest aspects that I kind of fell into, and so I would love to hear from both of you, what has been your personal experience in recognizing that you were disconnected, or, not as in tune with your feminine energy, how it typically shows up for women, so people can start to recognize, like, am I actually suppressing it or disconnected from it or not allowing it to come forward? Like, how does that manifest for people?
Yeah, I love that question so much, Christina. And I love what you said when you were talking about, for you, when you were experiencing being in more what are considered more masculine qualities, right? That go, 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 that, striving energy. And again, we all have both within us. So there's nothing wrong with that piece. But I think the balance gets tipped when that's all we're operating in, because we've been so conditioned that that is the better way or the right way.
Yes.
And so we get exhausted, because to a true feminine core, that's exhausting. And while we can do it, to be stuck in that for long periods of time is exhausting. So that's how you will see it show up. You'll see that disconnection show up in burnout, overwhelm, right? Just frustration. And I think you can also see it show up in, when we get sort of over imbalanced in the feminine, where then we're overly emotional or needy or stuck in like a victim's consciousness, right? Those are some other ways that we also will see the imbalance or the disconnection to our feminine. And I know for me, as a mom of 3 who works full time and has pets and a house and a marriage, right? Like that it is. And that I live in New York, right? We're conditioned from so young to just be going, that overwhelm, that belief that that's what I have to be in order to be the ideal woman, right? You think back, I grew up in the 70s and 80s, and there was a commercial. It was for perfume, and they showed the woman in her business suit, and she was like, I can bring home the bacon, right? And then fry it up in a pan and never let you forget you're a man. And so it was like, she could be the provider, she could be the cook, she could be sexy, right? And of course, mother. And while, yes, we can do all those things, but all at once with no support is a recipe for disaster. And it's not embodying the gifts of the feminine. We're leaving out what our wisdom and our intuition and the rest and the collaborative and the include, what all of our gifts bring that would actually make us better, or whatever those goals are we wanted to reach, they'll actually help us reach those better, if that makes sense.
Yes, absolutely. It's almost like it actually aligns us more deeply with what our vision is, right? When we embody that feminine energy the way that we were meant to, right? Rather than trying to take this route or this way, this long pathway towards it, It's actually recognizing that in that feminine energy, there's so much potential there that exists. It's just that it's very counterintuitive, I think, to our logical mind. Like you said, that's been conditioned to think this certain way. That's the only way, and like you said, I feel like a lot of us go through that and experience that burnout, that exhaustion, that feeling like I have to provide and do this and do that and wear a million hats, right? It's it's huge. That's huge.
Yeah, Tiff, that was awesome. And I so agree with all of that. And I think the conditioning is such a huge piece here, because anytime a woman sits down, right, to just wants to do nothing, like the guilt sets in. We feel like we have the guilt, we have the rest of society, pressuring us to be doing all the things, to be everything. And part of that is the conditioning, because if we were allowed to just be still, to tune in to our intuition, because there's so much wisdom in our stillness. If we were allowed to do that, we would be so powerful. And so part of the oppression that has happened in oppressing our power is to make us believe that if we're not go 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 go, then somehow we're not worthy here in society. And so for me, before this, like I felt like of course I wasn't aware of any of this, but looking back, kind of swimming in that pool of conditioning, feeling like I had to achieve all these things academically, or I had to have the right husband, the right kids, the right house in order to fit in society and be the ultimate woman or the worthy woman. And so since connecting back to my divine feminine, there's been a huge piece for me in just being still and being vulnerable, right? Like I was really protected, and it's like, I'm not going to show those emotions. That's weak. I'm not going to let my heart, open as wide as it can, because I don't want to be hurt, and because that's weak too. And so since connecting back, I see how it's really the complete opposite. And all of our power literally lies in the opposite of what we have been conditioned to believe.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. So true. And I love that you brought forward that stillness piece, because I was actually thinking about that in the sense of, what if we actually allowed ourselves to have space and stillness and quiet and that introspectiveness and all of that? I feel like that's where, when we allow ourselves to just be in that space, that's when all of these other aspects, like the intuition, that can really come forward, because it's something that's been so quieted down. That's something that's, suppressed. It's one of those things where actually allowing yourself to have space and stillness helps you to truly see what else is beneath the surface, and helps you to truly see the power behind that, and I feel like until we actually, again, give ourselves permission, and until we actually experience it, it's kind of like, okay, I get you. I hear what you're saying. That makes sense, but you got to experience it for yourself. You've got to give yourself that space and that stillness and that opportunity to really see how powerful you truly are,
Yeah.
and it's in that I feel that, through that reconnection to the feminine, we also reconnect to our true power. Absolutely. Like you said.
Yep.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that you brought up the guilt piece, Jen, because I think that's so, I loved everything that you shared, but I think that's so deep. It's so deep for women. And so even to be able to get to that place of allowing yourself ways to connect back into your feminine, it can be really challenging for some women, really challenging to be able to even do that. And so that's also part of what we hope to be able to empower women to be able to do.
Yeah, to release the guilt, to release any shame, to release anything that says, I'm doing it wrong or whatever, and to really help women to trust themselves and come back into that space, and to know, like, this is who I'm meant to be, or this is who I truly am, right?
Or what I desire to be, right?
Yes.
Yes.
There's this piece of society telling us who we should be, and then it's
Mm-hmm.
steeped into our own consciousness. So now we have the internal chatter also telling us that too. And so it's really able to break that first. That's so important.
Yeah. Oh, that's huge. Okay. So tell me about, for women who are listening to this, for people who identify with this feminine energy, who are listening, who are like, okay, I can see this. Yes, burnout. Yes, guilt. Yes, this, what would you say is something that they can do, either a tool or a practice or whatever, something that you suggest for women to start to kind of bring into their lives to support them with this work, to support them with connecting back to their sacred feminine?
Yeah, I love that question so much. And I mean, I think we were just talking about some of it, right? Like one of the things is, reclaiming rest, reclaiming the pause, the sacred pause, to be able to even just allow yourself the space for that wisdom to come through, or just even the gift of rest. And so just starting small, even for some people, it's got to be small, especially as we were talking about that permission and that guilt. If it's even just 5 minutes a day or something like that, to just close your eyes with no distraction and just feel that space. I think, we've talked about intuition as well. And, intuition is one of the most powerful feminine gifts. And, we all say mother's intuition, right? We know that.
Right.
But really, all feminine beings really have that power of intuition. And how can we practice learning how to trust ourselves? I think you just used the word trust when you were talking. Learning how to trust ourselves, to listen to that. Right. And so maybe again, it's starting off small with, because of this conditioning, we don't always listen, but maybe it's starting off small with, what do I eat today? What do I want to eat today? What do I want to wear today? Should I drive this route or that route? Right. And we start small with following what our gut, right, our intuition tells us to do. And the more and more that we practice that and start to see that, oh, wow, that was great. Like I felt good in that, or that was good. We begin to trust ourselves more and our intuition. So those are just two ways. I know, Jen, I don't know if you want to share anything.
Yeah, I have so many ways because we've been thinking a lot about this as we bring more of this awareness to women. So one of the big ones for me is being in nature, right? And grounding in the earth, which really just means going into your backyard and either standing barefoot, or I like laying in the grass and connecting your body to the earth, which just is having awareness to feel the earth under you and feel her energy coming into you. Because if you do that, if you quiet your mind and you lay there, you can feel her, you can feel the trees, you can feel like nature literally communicating with you. And it really just takes that stillness to be able, in that awareness to be able to do that. So that's one of them. I've been really into moving my body more through dance, right? So I like to have a morning practice where I am still for, 30 minutes, or even if it's just 15 minutes, where I can connect in my heart and either meditate or do Reiki or just pray, whatever it is for you. And then do a dance, like put on your favorite song and just stand up and dance, because there's something about dancing when nobody else is around that your body kind of takes over, right? And it moves in the way that it wants to. And then saying yes more. Like Christina, one of the things you taught was like, when you don't want to do all the pushing in your life, when you have all these to-dos in your daily list and it feels overwhelming, if you just stop and say, all right, what do I want? What do I desire right now? And do that. And then doing all the other stuff on the list is so much easier. So I've put that into practice a lot. And I've really been able, I feel like, to collapse time in that way, where if I just tend to me and my body for like 10 or 15 minutes, then everything else feels so much easier. Yeah.
I love that so much, Jen. Because it makes me think of, saying no more, right? Because when we say no more to the thing, we're so conditioned again as the feminine to be so pleasing And,
Mm-hmm.
and by our nature, we are nurturers and giving. That is part of our gift. But sometimes, again, we've been conditioned to do that at the detriment of ourselves, and sort of that sacrificial martyr, pendulum swing. And so being able to say no more to what you don't want to be doing leaves you that space to say yes, like you were talking about, Jen, to what is more true for
Yep.
you. So I love that so much.
Oh,
So good.
it's so
And
good. And yeah, go ahead.
I just want to say one more thing, because this is not necessarily something that any person can do daily, but I just wanted to share that the biggest thing that's connected me back to really feel this is sitting in circle with other women. And a big piece of that has been learning Reiki as one way to feel this magic and this energy with me, and being able to do that, like in Sacred Sister Circle with other women. It's like it transports you back to, we've all actually done this before. And it is just the biggest remembrance for me that's connected me back and been like, oh, this is who I am, this is what I've done.
I love that. I so agree with that, Jen, and I love that so much. I think, again, as feminine, we're connecting beings, right? We're connecting, we're community based. And, we live, again, now in the modern world. We no longer live generationally, with our families. We no longer live as a tribe or community. And we're so isolated in our homes or our apartments with our, primary family. And feminine really needs that feminine connection and that deep, deep sisterhood. And so when we can be in sacred, safe community together without judgment, without, and really just celebrating one another and doing this kind of work together, it's like, it's tenfold the way that it opens you up to your core energy, to your natural divinity, to your, rightful divinity.
Right. Oh,
Feminine birthright.
I'm like, where do I even start with what you two just brought up? Like, there's so many beautiful golden nuggets here. And I'll just start off by saying, what Tiffany just mentioned with the sisterhood and that connection with each other. Like, literally the other day, I was channeling Mary Magdalene, and that was one of the things that she brought forward was, in order to continue to nurture this divine feminine energy, it's so important to have these sisterhood connections, right? And being in circle with one another or connecting in that way. And it's so true. It's so true. And I know that for me personally, in the past year or so, I'd say, is when that has really started to come through for me in terms of my personal experience. And again, it's so true. There's just something magical about when women come together and connect with each other in this way. And I know that both of you, that's a huge part of your work and what you do and how you support other women. So I would love to hear from you, as you kind of close off this episode, to hear more about how you bring that energy together in terms of the retreats that you host, in terms of the energy that you work with Reiki, with, any other energies or beings that come forward in the work that you do.
Go ahead, Jeff.
You want me to start, love? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I love this. We, as you already know, we're doing retreats. We're using the modality of Reiki. And one of the reasons we use Reiki, Reiki is a beautiful divine energy, right? It's a gorgeous channel. And so teaching women to connect to that channel is not necessarily for the purpose of maybe going out and becoming a Reiki practitioner, which you sure can if you want to. But really what it does is it allows women, especially those who might not have been so connected, to feel direct access to source energy, divine energy, and be able to know what that feels like within them, and that they can create that, they can embody that, that it's part of them. And it's that magic that we're talking about. So
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the modalities that we do use together. And yes, we use retreats where we actually have that space to be disconnected from the outer world, all our responsibilities, all the things that keep us maybe more in our masculine or that type of thing, and come together with other women and actually do sacred ceremony or deep talks, meditations. We do yoga, we, body movement, dancing, cooking together. It's beautiful. And, so those are some of the ways. We also have, Jen, do you want to talk a little bit about our group that we have sort of going and some of the other ways that we do it?
Yeah, sure. I just quickly want to piggyback on the retreat, though, because it is such a magical experience to be in person together. And Tiffany is a phenomenal channel and a Reiki master and teacher. And I've learned so much from her. And I think that having her lead these retreats as the Reiki master, and she does these channeled meditation journeys with us, so being in that environment is both incredibly healing and empowering for every woman there. Not to mention the bonds that you create with these women that you're literally channeling source energy through yourself with. It's emotional. It's magical. It's empowering. It's all of these things wrapped up, and it's super fun. We have so much fun, so much laughing. It's not all serious ritual. It's so much fun. We swim and we cook and we dance and we laugh and we eat, and it's just the best thing. I wanted to
yeah. I love that. And before you continue, I just want to add that it feels like just the most beautiful space that women can walk into, that they just get to be fully themselves, just fully, any guard, any walls come right down and just fully be themselves, when maybe, they've lived most of their lives feeling like they have to have some wall to protect them, or, fear of judgment or whatever. So that's just the vibe that I pick up on just listening to this. And I'm like, when am I going to the next one? Because it sounds incredible. But yes, keep going. Share more about what you guys do.
You're so right. It's you walk through the door and you walk through this portal where all of the armor comes off, because you're held in such a safe container here. It's just so safe, and it just feels oh my gosh, I can breathe again and just be my own self. And we have seen such amazing transformation in the women that we've worked with, that after we did 2 retreats last year, and they wanted more, we wanted more, and so we created a 6-month virtual online container that we're in right now. It's called Magic. And in that container, we do 2 Zoom meetings each month. One of them is a sacred sister circle, ceremonial type of meeting. And the other one is a bit more casual, where we do a little bit of teaching about, divine feminine, other topics, and kind of just question and answer, where people can kind of bring their questions or concerns or comments, but it's all done within the sisterhood container. And then we're all together on an app online, so we can have daily check-ins, and they can ask questions, we can answer them. We can just share with these trusted sisters that we've, been with through retreat. And it's been really, just really a wonderful experience for everybody.
Yeah, so true.
Absolutely incredible. Oh my gosh, so incredible. And, to that, I would say I just am so grateful for technology, for allowing us to have that, to extend beyond, the in-person stuff. And it's kind of having both of that, right? Because to me, my experience with this is that the in-person came about because I was able to connect with people through the online world, that we then got together, in person. And so then vice versa, you're in person, then you get to stay connected online. And it's just a beautiful thing. So I love that you offer both, and that you have that, you see the value and importance of both things, to stay connected virtually, but then also the importance of in-person connection as well. So that's amazing.
And I think there's, again, that once you, have this taste of coming home to yourself, right? you desire to keep that within your life. And so this allows us, you're so right, like technology is beautiful in this way. This allows us to stay connected and keep that sacredness going, right? Especially for women who are like maybe newer to it, or like, well, I'm not sure what to do on my own, but
Right.
being able to come together twice monthly and all connect, to practice ritual, to, like Jen said, to share, to talk, to heal together and grow, teach. It's just been really, really unique and beautiful.
Amazing. Amazing. And so on that note, speaking of connection and staying connected, there's a couple of questions that I would love for you guys to share. Mainly, where can people find you when, they listen to this and they're like, I want to connect with these women. I want to learn more. I want to learn about your next retreat, all of that good stuff. Let us know where people can find you. And then also, I believe that you two have something special that you want to share with our audience. So if you want to speak to that, and let us know what that is.
Yes, sure. Well, we're still in the early phases of building this business, but anybody that wants to learn more or follow us can follow us on Instagram. It's at sister _compass. So 2 underscores. You can also email us at sacredsistercompass@gmail.com.
Cool. Awesome. And all the links, by the way, are going to be found below this episode in the show notes. So anyone who needs direct links, I've got you covered. We've got the links there. So just scroll down and go find the links there.
Yes. Yeah, we're going to be putting out more content on our Instagram page in the coming weeks and months, just teaching more about the divine feminine. There's a big need, I think, for people want to know more. And so we're ready to give that to them. And Tiff, do you want to talk about the free offer?
Yeah, that's it, Jen. I love that. So what we're giving away is 12 ways that you can begin to connect with your divine feminine. So a little bit of like what we talked about today, but 12 ways, and we love the number 12 as divine feminine, to connect to our sacred feminine and begin to bring about a deeper connection to this. So,
oh my gosh, beautiful, beautiful. I cannot wait. To download that and receive that gift. And it's just so beautiful. And I'm just so grateful. Thank you to both of you for coming on here today. And before we sign off, I just want to say I love how the Divine Feminine has spoken through us today. For those of you who are not watching this on YouTube and are listening in, all 3 of us showed up to the call wearing red. And I was like, okay, there was no memo sent out, but clearly there was something in the universe. The vibes that got put out were like, wear red today. So I just love that. And thank you again for bringing this energy to us. Thank you for, helping to open up to this experience of the sacred feminine, giving all of us permission to lean into it on a much deeper level. So I appreciate you both so much. Thank you.
Thank you,
Christina. It's been such a joy, and thank you for all that you do in the world. We're so appreciative of what you give. Thank you.
Yes, I would not. I would not be here, I don't think, at the level I'm at if I had not worked with you in various programs over the past. It's almost been 2 years, and so I just want to thank you for all of your mentorship and all of your beautiful, just the way that you teach. You've taught me so much in how to channel, how to journey, how to connect to myself and to the divine, and you've been a foundation for me. And so I really just want to thank you for that and for the opportunity to be here.
Thank you so much. I receive that in my heart on a deep, deep level. And once again, for those of you who are listening in, go find these beautiful women online. All of the links are below. Share your love, post it in the comments. I cannot wait to hear what was your key takeaway or golden nugget that you received from this conversation today. And so once again, thank you all for listening in. Thank you to both Jen and Tiffany for being here with us today. And as always, I am sending you so much love and angel blessings, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you once again for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. And if you want to learn more about the Divine Connection podcast, you can go to christinaaroche.com/podcast and learn about how you can be featured on the show.